It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio, flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome on Facebook and Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show and at Mike Now on Twitter.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in demand.
Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in demand, right?
And see, I put the grasshopper up there.
Grasshopper?
And I hope all the grasshopper mamalas are watching today. Happy Mother's Day on a nasty, windy, rainy, oh boy.
What rain?
Yeah, I know.
I absolutely no rain up here, nothing.
Are you kidding? Well, you know what?
Totally dry.
I think you're
Completely
the dividing
dry.
line. You must be I've got about, and I was going to tell Rick DiMaio this later on, our meteorologist, who's been warning us about how dry things are out there. You know, it's amazing how things can be so dry and miserable in 1 week. You know, we've had this mist and kind of drizzle, but it hasn't added to the precipitation levels. I have 0.2 in my rain gauge this morning, which is great compared to we had the other day. We had 2 days of this same kind of weather, this nasty sort of drizzly, cold stuff. Earlier in the week, I had a trace. It didn't even get to 1/10. It looked like
same.
Yeah. Wow. And so there's just enough rain in the Midwest, in certain parts, not your area, to make things miserable, like at the Logan Square Farmers Market, which opens this morning. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about farmers markets, and a couple of great guests are with us. We'll bring them in just a second. And as one of our guests, Bob Benenson, said, somebody's got to draw the short straw. And
Logan Square did.
And Logan Square did. This is their opening day, and yeesh. They missed it by a day, I think, on either side, because I think Monday's going to be decent, and yesterday was a pretty nice day, actually. But the show must go on, as they say. And
That it must.
And given that a year ago there were no farmers markets at this point, we were in the pandemic, nobody knew what to do. It's kind of interesting how that's all changed. And now we realize being outdoors is the safest place you can be. I posted at my blog, go to MikeNovak.net. There's a link to a New York Times article that looked at the last year. I was fascinated by it. I was reading it yesterday morning, and so the timing was perfect. So I put a link there in the blog, and it's about how this has evolved over the past year to where we can determine what's safe. And basically it's masks and outdoors. Masks and outdoors, and that's a winner. That's a keeper. And some of the stuff we were doing was a century old. Some of the advice was just dead wrong, because we're finding now that COVID-19 is spread via aerosol rather than droplets. And some people go, well, what's the difference? It's a huge difference. Droplets, are much larger than aerosol, and aerosol travels much farther, which is why it was so dangerous indoors, which is why we've had those super spreader events indoors. Outdoors, it's harder. But given that it still does spread via aerosol, wearing a mask and being outdoors is a good combination. And we're still in that point. So anyway, that's my medical
Update for the morning.
update. There we go. Wait, no. Okay. And so after we talk farmers markets, Peggy and I are going to chit chat a little bit. I had an opportunity to go visit Monty and Rose, and was that the coolest thing ever? Oh my God!
The Monty and Rose.
The Monty and Rose, the piping plovers at Montrose Beach on the shoreline
with the Bob Dolgan.
With the Bob Dolgan and the Leslie Bournes. They were great. They were so helpful. It was just a magic couple of hours there. Magical couple of hours. And actually seeing those two, and they're tiny. If you got
them on video.
I got them on video. We're going to show the video. It's only 48 seconds long.
Look, there they go.
It's pretty much what it was. And it was hard to keep up with them, but we're giving it away now. So we don't want to do that because I want people to tune in later and see the Monty and Rose
There's
video.
a surprise in the video. There is a surprise visitor in the video.
There's a couple of surprise visitors in the video. So we will show that. And we're going to talk about the Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards 60-second garden video challenge. Yeah, it's open. You need to get your videos in for the spring session or section. Whichever, which is now through the end of June. So, and this cold weather is great because it's like putting everything in a refrigerator. Just hold that bloom.
Get some pretty photos with mist on them.
My Caria japonica, because of the cold weather, bloomed for like 3 weeks. It was unbelievable. And it was just gorgeous, just sitting out there. Now I've got columbine all over the place out front. It's just wow. Along with my red and yellow columbine, Aquilegia canadensis, with my purple allium. It's very cool. It's a great look. So
my trillium are blooming all over. My native geranium are blooming all over.
The trillium you gave me are blooming in my backyard. So I haven't seen the Jack in the Pulpit yet. I have one magnificent Jack in the Pulpit you gave me that I need a few more of those out there.
I have many.
You feel free to dig them up. Feel free to dig them up and send them along to me. Okay, so that's on the show, and of course, as I mentioned before, meteorologist Rick DiMaio will be with us also around 10:30 and explain. And he's got some splaining to do about this Mother's Day, but it's really not his fault, as you know. So let's get to...
It is.
Yeah, okay. We'll blame meteorologist Rick DiMaio. Let's get to our guests, and there you go in the lower left-hand corner. That's Bob Benenson. How you doing, Bob? Good morning.
I'm doing great, Mike and Pat. It's good to be with you on the show, and looking forward to talking about my favorite subjects.
Which is food. Of course.
Food, of course. Local food and farmers markets and the whole local food community, which is what we're aiming to cover in the newsletter I just started, Local Food Forum.
Right, and that's what we're going to highlight on today's show, one of the things. And our other guest, there's Elsa Jacobson, Elsa M. Jacobson. Should we just call you M?
You're welcome to do. Thank you.
Ms. M.
And she's hidden away in an office that makes it look as though there's actually sunshine somewhere in the world, but that's not true. And Elsa is a farmers market manager, several farmers markets. Why don't you tell me the places that you manage, Elsa?
Absolutely. I'm managing the Lincoln Park Farmers Market. That's not Green City, that's the Lincoln Park Farmers Market on Saturday mornings, celebrating its 40th anniversary. I'm managing Lincoln Square Tuesday and Lincoln Square Thursday, Tuesday in the morning, Thursday in the evening. And I am managing the brand new startup Uptown Farmers Market, which had its first opening forever and ever, and here we go into a wonderful season with the Penn Market on Wednesday evenings.
Wow,
That's-
you're busy.
That is okay. We're going to get to that. How that is even possible to do that? Because I can't even imagine handling one. And I've talked to people who manage farmers markets who they have their hands full. It's a really hard job. Yes, Elsa.
Hands and feet and toes and brain and mouth and big old smile, because I opened 4 in 6 days, and they are all completely different, and they all opened with enthusiastic crowds. We lucked out with the weather, and it really proved that we're doing a big service to the community and the vendors by opening in May.
And as I mentioned earlier, a year ago, we didn't know what was going to go on, and the markets were all delayed in opening. And what we didn't realize at the time is they could have opened. We just didn't understand the virus and how it spread. And now a year later, we've got a lot more information, and it tells us. And people have responded to this over the past year. They feel safer at the open markets. They're interested in local food. They're interested in healthy food, and it has supported those markets. I have an article that I found that I put in my blog post. But just anecdotally, you can tell that the markets have thrived during this pandemic. So and by association, local farmers. A lot of local farmers have done very, very, very well, which nobody expected. People didn't see that
And
coming.
And sales of organic food up, not just at markets, but everywhere
Yeah.
as well.
And the entrepreneurial folks who have pandemic pivoted from other things and are supporting those local farmers with the products they're making are also thriving. So it's a trickle down win-win through an awful lot of people that you might not see from a quick look. But I'm very impressed with some of the things that people have decided to do when their former careers vanished overnight on them.
Yeah.
And also, you know, it was remarkable how the farmers and the markets pivoted last spring. You know, this could have been a total disaster, but they showed amazing agility. A lot of them started online markets. A lot of the farmers who had been resistant to do so in the past started doing home delivery with their CSAs and also their a la carte e-commerce offerings. And that's going to have a permanent impact, even though we're back to something that more resembles the old normal with the local food scene. All these producers and markets now have arrows in their quiver, and they're going to be able to reach more people that way. There's going to be the season is the 6-month growing season is not going to be as relevant as it's been in the past.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, when you combine that with what Peggy was referring to about how consumers are more concerned than ever about food and health, food and wellness, food and sustainability, transparency, the first of our lifetimes, you know, except for people who have income issues that limit their food access. Food security became an issue for everybody. You know, your grocery store was closed, or there were empty shelves, and so people went flocking back to their local farmers, the CSAs, which were on the verge of dying a few years ago in this market. Suddenly, everybody's sold out, so it's great.
I remember the comment.
Opportunity.
Peak CSA we were talking about at the Good Food Expo several years back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back.
And it is Go ahead.
Go ahead. What you also get added to that, Bob, of course, with a live farmers market is what people are now craving because they haven't had it for 15 months to the degree that they used to, which is human interaction. Markets give you stories, they give you community, they give you a feeling that you're alive again. You're not just outside, but you're learning about people's lives and their livelihoods. And that is huge for the success of our markets.
That is so true, Elsa. Yeah, and you know, I basically, the chair I'm sitting in right now is basically where I've been sitting about 18 hours a day for the last 15 months since we went to ground with COVID. Everything was closed last year. The markets, they had security measures, so you felt safe going there, and they still do. You're still required to wear a mask. There's still social distancing, crowd control, but I got to see friends. I mean, I've been going to these farmers markets long enough that I know a lot of the farmers, I know a lot of the vendors, and a lot of the customers are people that I know from the community. So it was the touch point for something resembling normal for all of last summer.
That has led in some way to your new venture, Bob. And by the way, I have to put your picture back. I'm admiring your COVID hair because I've got my own. I've got my own, and let's see. I don't know if you can see. I've got the ponytail going today.
Oh, we coordinated. You've got the purple ponytail holder. I've got the purple sweater. Well, hey, my hair got long.
There we go. And I got the purple shirt.
I wanted to get
and
the freak
Elsa's
flag
got a
the full
ponytail.
effect.
Yeah. What was that, Bob?
The freak flag had to get the full effect here, so I let it go.
I like that.
This is the longest my hair has ever been, including college. You know, basically, I was talking to people just like this on Zoom. So what was the point? Then it got longer and longer, and I figured, you know, I've reached an age where, since I've still got hair, that's a reason to celebrate. And if it's going to grow this long, I'm going to let it.
Exactly. If you got it, flaunt it. So let's get to, we'll get back to the farmers markets. I love the overview you guys just gave us of why farmers markets are so important. And I don't think you can overstate the importance of connection with people. That the thing you brought up, Elsa, how people get to see each other and be together in a way that they haven't been able to for about a year. And we combine it with food, healthy food, and keeping farmers in business, local farmers. That's great. That's a win-win-win for the farmers markets. So, Bob, tell us about your new venture, Local Food Forum. Let's give them a ding for that. And if I could get it away from my mouse here, it would ding even better. It's still not doing it.
Wow, it's a 5-alarm newsletter.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything. I can even throw this in. So we'll do that if you want.
All right, let me go get my drum.
Yeah.
Where's those jingle bells?
That is definitely my first rim shot of the year. So good.
Oh, okay. Well, that deserves another. All right. See, you should not give Peggy and me toys. We do not give us toys.
This one says it's tuned to A sharp, by the way. So.
Yeah, you told me that. All right. I actually like to start in A flat, but Bob, why did you do this? We've known you for a number of years. At Family Farm, we would work together on the Good Food Expo when Family Farm was doing the Good Food Expo, and you were part of that, and we always enjoyed that. And now you're moving on. Their mission has changed a little bit, and that led to Local Food Forum, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. The short version of the story is that for the last 7 years, I've worked with Family Farm, which is a nonprofit that whose vision statement is good food on every table. It's something that I support deeply because issues like food access and food as economic opportunity, food and health, have always driven my interest in this area. And so I've worked across the good food community in a lot of different areas. So I figured that, when I looked at the landscape, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do on my own, there really was no publishing platform that was specifically focused on the local food community. And a lot of the individual players in this field have their own newsletters, their own websites, but there was very little interaction. So I decided that this was an opportunity to use the knowledge and the skills and the passion I have for the subject matter, and my 40 years of experience in journalism, and try and experiment. Let's see if this will work, because there are, as we've been discussing, there are a growing number of people who are really involved and interested in local food. The numbers are growing, and yet to some extent, their understanding of what goes on behind the scenes, meaning on the farm, at the production line, in the kitchens of restaurants, is a little superficial. So one of the things I'm doing is a Seasons of Change farmers series. I've recruited some farmers to write stories occasionally across the season, so people get a real feel for what it's like on the farm, what it's like to grow food for the local market. How do you respond to crises, a drought, a flood, some sort of crop failure, and all that. And then we'll be writing about farm-to-table restaurants, school gardens, community gardens, the whole 9 yards. Just very quickly, my background, first of all, I've been a food fanatic since I was a little kid. Since Mother's Day, I'm going to give a shout out to my late mother because she implanted these values in me and also inspired me to become a serious home cook. As an adult, my cooking adventures took me into the good food space very early. I was an early shopper at places like Whole Foods and the farmers markets in Washington, D.C., where I lived for many years. And then in 2003, I got cancer. I was prostate cancer, so I'm an 18-year survivor now. And I committed to use every tool at my reach to try and increase my odds of beating this thing and living a good long life. And food was a big part of that. I'm a really strong believer on the food is medicine principle. And so that led me to Family Farm when I moved here, and now it's led me to Local Food Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you're doing this newsletter pretty every day and sometimes more than once a day, right?
Usually once a day. Every once in a while, I'll do a comment thread or something like that, and a full issue if there's breaking news, and sometimes we actually get that in the local food scene.
And you're also a photographer.
Yeah,
you're a photographer,
yeah.
so that gets woven into your newsletters too.
Yeah,
including
I humbly. Yeah, yes, I am a serious nature photographer. I humbly accept the mantle of Renaissance man.
Okay.
Just kidding. No, and as far as the 7 day a week. Wow. We're now like 10 bells and 3 rim shots. I mean, this may be a record. But as far as the daily publishing, and there's a big debate in the publishing community. What is the right number of times to publish.
Right.
There is so much going on in this community. There are so many markets to cover. There are so many restaurants to cover. There are so many extraordinary nonprofits and farmers and everybody to cover. And I'm getting a lot of contributed content. People want to read person accounts from the people who are actually doing the stuff. They don't want to just hear me go on. So there's a ton of content that if you try to pack it into 1 or 2 days a week, it would be humongous, and people would start saying, no, you shouldn't run things so long. So I'm taking a chance that we'll keep things interesting. We're going to write about different things every day. Part of it is pure information, like the Market Monday that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. It's just a list of this week's farmers markets in the Chicago metro area, day by day, and photos of food that's in season. That's a nice little handy guide for people.
And one of the things I'm going to ask you to do, and when we break in a few minutes, you might be able to grab it, is get us a list that we can present to folks today about some of the markets that have opened already and where they can find them. I know you did one the other day about the markets that are going to open in Chicago, but there are other markets in the area as. Yeah, and if you can find that information, get that out. Yes, Peggy.
I also have a question, because it's a term we all use regularly, and you used it a couple of times, Bob, but maybe people who are watching aren't familiar exactly with what you mean by good food.
Yeah, and I'll just take the formulation that we used during my years at Family Farm. It's delicious food produced as locally as possible using sustainable, humane, and fair practices. And different farmers and different food producers meet these parameters at different levels. But we trying to push the food system in the direction that we feel is the right direction, one that provides for stronger local economies by keeping more of the money at home in our region, that local food is, first of all, as delicious as it can be. I always call farmers markets the starter drug for the good food movement, because when you go, everything is picked yesterday. It's picked at the peak of ripeness. So, if you've been eating supermarket food, which is good, we urge people to eat more fruit, more vegetables, more healthy meats, and plant-based foods wherever they get it. But if you're tasting something for the first time that's that fresh, and you've been eating supermarket food that's flown in thousands of miles inside in a warehouse for a while, it's an epiphany. I mean, it's just so much more delicious. It maintains its nutrients better. And another big thing about, because people say, oh, well, is it too expensive? It is not too expensive, and food that you buy that's that fresh has much better shelf life, so it lasts longer, and you have less spoilage and less food waste. Then if you look at the sustainable side, we're working with farmers who farm organically, sustainably, using regenerative practices. There are so many different categorizations right now, but they're all about building healthy soil, reducing the impact of carbon, and containing global warming. Humane, if you're to me, and I'm an omnivore, I've been eating meat my whole life, but it is a conscious issue. I love animals, and so you want to make sure that the livestock that are raised to be food are treated as humanely and carefully as they possibly can. You know what they say, that they have one bad day in their life, and so we are pressing for a greater degree of pasture-raised, free roaming opportunity for the animals. And fair means both fair prices for farmers so they can sustain their livelihoods, and fairness to farm workers who are often neglected in our society, especially in the conventional food arena.
And I will go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm so
I was
sorry.
no, I was going to go to you, Elsa.
How beautifully what you just said speaks to my newest venture, which is the Uptown Farmers Market, which is produced by the Food Co-op Chicago Market, which has a series of purchasing values that guide my curatorial work, which are almost identical to everything that you just stated. They are, in this order: delicious, transparent, sustainable, local, and socially responsible. So you have perfectly encapsulated the work that I do in all of my markets, and beautifully articulated by Chicago Market, that took this leap into the wonderful world of farmers markets with me.
Well, while we've got you, and we've got just a couple of minutes before we break here, Elsa, how is it that you got so involved in farmers market? It sort of comes to you from your mom as well.
Pedigree, just like Bob cited his mother. This is perfect that we're doing it on Mother's Day. My mother actually worked for Henry Brockman of Henry's Farm, which you can see beautifully on display every week at the Evanston Farmers Market, which is my homegirl market. And I'm so happy that Bob covered it. It's a beautiful, very urban, large, wonderful array of vendors and extraordinary customers that support the work that they do, or they would not be that scale. So my mother worked for him. It's in my bloodstream. I couldn't help myself. I managed 3 markets for the city back in the late 90s, and it has come full circle that I have now worked for all of them again in this more current era of farmers markets.
And so, yeah, everybody comes to you, huh, and says, manage our market, please.
Okay,
No,
Elsa needs the dings too.
All right.
It's extraordinary. I feel my job is to be of service to the vendors, and I think they feel it hierarchically. I am here to support the work that they do. And while some people think that they're in charge of a market, I think that I'm really here to take care of them and to make sure they have the best possible experience at every market that I manage and they vend at.
Well, when we come back, I'd like to know what that means, what that entails, managing a market. You don't have to dig up dirt for me, but some of the basics. But I bet you got stories to tell, Elsa, from having done this a lot.
You bet I do. And some will keep under the rug, and some I have.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, when we come back, then we'll hear some stories about managing a farmer's market. We'll get a sense of which ones are out there now. We'll see some photos because Bob's been making the rounds already. I mean, here we are. It's only the 9th of May, and he's been out and about. So
and we have a comment that came through from Snappy J Dog. She wants all the dish, Elsa.
Market for all the
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
but I brought a prop.
a tomato.
I love it. Visual aids as well. But you didn't get it quite right, Peggy. Snappy J Dog wrote, OMG dish. So she really wants it's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We'll be back talking farmers markets right after this.
You can help slow climate change in 2021 by composting. And you don't even need a backyard. By composting communally in multi-unit buildings across Chicagoland, Collective Resource Compost has diverted 7,000 tons of food scraps since 2010. CRC brings you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter, they swap it out, and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
From small boat fishermen to your dinner table with safe, free, no-contact delivery, Sitka Salmon Shares brings premium wild Alaska seafood to your door. They're a community-supported fishery offering shares just like your local CSA. All fish is wild caught in season with respect for the limits of the ocean. Line caught and traceable to their fleet. Use promo code NOVAC25 for $25 off the first month of a share. Go to sitkasalmonshares.com/NOWAK.
You know, deer are a common problem in many landscapes, and they can have a devastating effect. They forage and browse on a wide range of trees and shrubs, and you know, they can eat up to 6 pounds of plant material each day. Well, the result? Those flowers that you've been waiting so patiently for can be gone in a matter of one single day. And once the deer have established themselves in your landscape, you can look forward to lush green hedges being defoliated right down to the sticks, buck rubbing the bark off of trees with their antlers, and worst of all, ticks. More deer in your landscape mean more ticks that carry Lyme disease and other viruses. Unfortunately, deer adapt to home remedies pretty quickly, and deer fencing can be effective, but it can also take away from the visual appeal of your landscape. The most practical approach to deer management is a repellent program, customized to the amount of deer pressure you're experiencing, the time of year, and your personal preferences. Bartlett Tree experts use several different products, all tested at the grounds of our research laboratory to ensure effectiveness. So, feel free to take down the home remedies and let us handle your deer management needs.
Whether you're a farmer or a backyard gardener, assist your soil in providing key nutrients to your plants with Spectrum Soil Inoculum from Tineo Biologicals. The beneficial microorganisms in Spectrum break down and release vital nutrients and make them more accessible to your plants. Spectrum works with nature to decompose organic matter into humus, building richer, healthier soil. Spectrum is approved for use on certified organic crops and is OMRI listed. Get Spectrum at blazing-star.com. And welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We are talking farmers markets, and I'm happy to say I'm looking at some of the comments coming in. A lot of people are giving shout-outs to their favorite farmers markets.
Give preview, Mike.
What?
Give us a preview of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know. Let's see. Nancy Bender wrote, the winter Logan Square market was fantastic. Thanks for having it, although they're having the rain at the outdoor today. But also Linda gives a shout out to Woodstock Farmers Market. Snappy J Dog, who we just heard from, Oak Park, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy,
followed with a woot woot.
Woot woot. And Nancy Bender wrote Evanston, which started on the 1st, and if it wasn't raining this morning, I would have gone to Logan Square. I might go over there anyway because I'm very close
Yeah.
by. That's my market. So wherever you are in the country, give us a shout out for your favorite farmers market, and we'll give them a quick shout out here.
And Mike,
Yes.
something because you said to tell you you are overmodulating a bit.
Oh, I am. Okay, let's bring that down. Thank you for letting me know. See, and I would see that on after the program and go, how did that happen? It's the meters here, and I was telling Bob the other day, it's like piloting the space shuttle. It looks great, but sometimes they're a little hot. So thank you for that. Also wanted to say, and I'm very happy about this. Tina Lulu, who's a regular, and I think she's. I don't know if she's in our area. I think she might be somewhere else in the. Let us know where you're from, Tina Lulu. I forget where you hail from there. She said, "I'm an RN and started my career in communicable diseases." Mike is 100% correct. I like hearing that. Okay, that's something I don't get very often. But about the transmissibility of COVID-19. So thank you, Tina Lulu, for saying that. Really, really appreciate it.
Matt just checked in. He likes the Park Ridge Market.
So, and it's as we mentioned before, it seems as though the pandemic is going to change things at farmers markets for the good. And I hope this is not a temporary bump. That is something that sticks with us. So it's time, Elsa, for you to dish just a little bit about running a farmer's market. What does that mean when somebody says you need to run a farmer's market? You can go into some of the more mundane and arcane things if you want, but I'm kind of curious.
I think I'll harken back to something I used to do, which is I ran a touring modern dance company, very prominent, where our choreographer, which was Merce Cunningham, said running a dance company was a cross between running an insane asylum and a kindergarten. And I think that running a market is exactly the same thing. We're building a community, we're running a business, we're supporting both long-term vendors and brand new vendors. We are trying to support what the public wants. We are encouraging the public to support the vendors. We are building an audience. We are, and I think this is very important about something that you said earlier, and particularly with Bob's initiative, we are educating the public. And I feel very strongly that we have an educative mission in all of this. So integrity is important. I am curating. I am asking questions before I bring on vendors. I am defending choices. Sometimes people say, what if they don't come back next year? Well, they won't come back next year if we don't support them this year. So sometimes people realize this isn't what they wanted to do. Other times, I have a vendor who was brand new last year who has already sprouted a retail business in Lincoln Park and is about to sprout a second one.
Nice.
So, I think it's a success story either way. It's a success if you try something and you realize this really isn't your life's calling and you're still going to understand it and support it. It's a success if it goes on to build a bigger business. We are supporting businesses. Uptown, for example, gives me an extraordinary opportunity because it's in support of Chicago Market, which will be hopefully everybody's new favorite store to shop for food. That we're also exploring the culture of Uptown. So all of the diverse opportunities that we have for vendors doing things that may not fall strictly within the purview of X number of miles, but are culturally appropriate for some of the vendors that we're choosing. So I think each market has its own very definitive personality. And in fact, at Lincoln Square, Tuesday and Thursday have their own definitive personality. Thursday used to be much more in service to the concerts on the square that happened. Of course, we don't have concerts now, but I think they still reflect an evening kind of activity. And the morning, we have a lot more families coming through, babies and strollers. We are, of course, dog and child friendly at all of my markets. So we have happy consumers thrilled to be outside in what you've now accurately described, I also believe, as a safer environment for people.
Have you had any problems with that over the past year? You're nodding. So what were some of the issues you had to deal with?
I think that any market manager would tell you how beaten up they are over the mask policy. I manage very strictly, both in terms of it being a business and now in terms of COVID protocol. And we are, I think, blessed that we are much stricter this year. No mask, no admission, period, end of subject. It is going to be much harder this year to manage that because people want to be done and they're getting conflicting messages about what Joe Biden said and what the CDC said. But you are in a crowd. It is not a public space. It's a permitted space. And I would tell you I'm getting the same kind of kickback harder than last year. However, every time I kick someone out or I inform someone that they cannot eat, they must have their nose covered, they must have their mouth covered, they can't take their mask off to smell anything, I get a resounding thumbs up from other folks who want to feel safe. And I am proud to say that we regularly get feedback in person and online that they come to these markets because they feel safer than going to the grocery store. So I think it's worth all of the effort we put in, but boy, oh boy, are we beaten up over the mask policy.
Wow. I'm telling you, folks, go to my blog, go to the very first paragraph. And I wrote, we are still learning how the virus is spread. And click on that link that is right there, and it'll take you to that New York Times article. And if you want to understand more fully about, or maybe just get Tina Lulu to come to your place and explain how this works. But you're right, Elsa. We still have to be careful. We've got variants. We do not have. We're not going to get herd immunity. It looks like in this country because we're frankly too dumb to get to that point. But what can you do?
But Mike, look at our markets. We encourage seniors. We have weight issues everywhere across America. Those are the two biggest risk factors that have stayed with us for 15 months. And we want to keep people safe. How much trouble is it to put a mask on your face and respect everyone's health and safety while you purchase the food that's going to, as Bob has clearly pointed out, the food that also helps to enhance your health and wellness?
It doesn't take much. Go ahead, Bob.
Last year the market was like a safety zone for me. That's why I felt so comfortable going there and getting that human connection and meeting friends, because I'd walk by the lakefront. I live right by Lake Michigan, and there are a bunch of people without masks. And this is at the height of the pandemic, and you just felt uncomfortable. You felt like you were walking extra miles avoiding people. And the market, by holding to the strict safety standards, I knew it was okay. That there was going to be socially distanced, masked people cooperating. I actually never saw an incident at Green City Market, which is where I shopped, almost all the time last summer. But there probably were. I mean, I wasn't there 5 hours a day. But yeah, I mean, the people who shop at farmers markets, a lot of them are there because they want to live a healthier life. So why would you take the risk?
And the Illinois Farmers Market Association does have guidelines that have come up for all the markets. There's a farmers market toolkit. So theoretically, all the markets are following the policies, as far as people going to a market. Well, is this one doing, is that one doing? There is a policy in the state that's voluntary, but
stricter guideline from the city of Chicago under which we are permitted and required to function. And some of us are perhaps a bit stricter than others, but I think it also garners the kind of positive feedback we're looking for from folks. Lincoln Square is run by the Lincoln Square Ravenswood Chamber, and they regularly shared with me the kinds of feedback we were getting from people who felt it was the safest place that they had been, which is great considering some of the kickback that we're getting from folks. And we're going full speed ahead with the same safety protocols this year.
Yeah, and you can get a link to the Illinois Farmers Market Association and their protocols on my blog post, because I added that as well. Let's take a look at some of these photos, Bob, that you have taken in the last couple of weeks. And this was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was downtown Evanston Farmers Market, and you can see the long line. And that's actually a line of people who are there to get crepes from Gotta Be Crepes. Gotta Be Crepes are all friends of mine because they were a participant in Family Farm's Good Food Accelerator program. So you can see people are out there. It's not ambient weather, but they're bundled up and they're having a great time, and they're buying all this beautiful food. One thing I wanted to add, Mike, because you got all this wonderful feedback from people from farmers markets you won't see here. A lot of times they're not open. I want to publish. I can't be everywhere, and I want to publish photographs of as many farmers markets as I can. So if you go to one of your favorite farmers markets, send a photo or photos to bob@localfoodforum.com, and I will publish a selection. Every Sunday is just like this. It's a photo essay about what went on at the markets the previous week.
And Debbie wrote to us, love the Beverly Farmers Market, just came home with some fresh asparagus, bread, and herb plants. So there's another shout out there. This is a terrific photo, and I saw somebody commented on that when you posted that in your newsletter.
Yeah, I love doing these still lifes with my market hauls every week. And it just shows not only, I mean, that's a counter full of health there. I mean, it's all really healthy food, but food is also beautiful. Look at those colors. And, in terms of the health consequences, we always say, eat the rainbow. All the colors of those plants that make them so beautiful represent different phytonutrients that help keep us all healthy. They all have different minerals and components that really add to our health. So
what are we looking at there? What are we looking at?
We're
there,
looking
Bob?
at ramps, and that's asparagus. I live for asparagus. Asparagus means it's spring. In the background, a little bit covered up by plastic, is spinach. These tomatoes, and I'll hold one up back on the screen. These tomatoes are the real revelation I've had so far this season. Hothouse heirloom tomatoes, they've been in the markets for a few years, but I said, well, they're grown at a hothouse. How good could they be? These are for Nichols Farm and Orchard in Marengo, which you see everywhere, and they're in so many different farmers markets. They're the biggest diversified farm in our region. And they are amazing. They're not even close to field tomatoes. They taste like field tomatoes. They have the feel, they're juicy, they're big. There's a huge shout out to Nichols. So hi, Nichols. But other farmers are doing this as well. I know that Iron Creek Farm from Indiana also has airdrop. Yes,
when you're shouting out to, I think it's worth adding this photo so encapsulates what I was sharing about the support of both old and new vendors. Nichols is so much, along with some other farmers, the father of this current market incarnation. And then you have right in the very front of that photo a shot of Dilly Dally Provisions pickled goods, and they are also doing markets with me, and they're brand new, and they are a pandemic pivot. So that range of business model that we're seeing is perfectly shown in that photo. And
Bob, do you want to do your show and tell here with the? Did you had a tomato there?
Here we go. This is what this is beautiful.
Yeah,
this looks like. I'm sorry, guys. Having problems.
And
with
there was some.
There's
some fettuccine in there. So what's for dinner, Bob? With all of that.
Well, I do make my own sauce when I get good tomatoes like this. So yeah, and the fettuccine is from Pasta Papone, and they're a suburban producer that makes pastas with different ingredients like lemon, mushrooms, tomato, basil, like that fettuccine. And they're also graduates of Family Farm's Good Food Accelerator, so I've known these folks for a while too. So you see, it's a real mix of fresh produce, frozen meats in their area, but they're fresh frozen meats. A lot of baked goods, and then you have these value-added producers that are making these absolutely delicious products. Most of them are making them from local ingredients, so they're basically collaborating with the local farms to produce these
All right,
things.
let's whip through. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
No, you go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I was want to bring some more photos in here. Now, I have a confession. I don't think I've ever eaten ramps.
Really?
Yeah.
You know the funny thing, Mike.
Elsa, what?
I said we have to fix that. They're so
we do
delicious.
have to fix that.
George. And I'm sure if you wander over to Logan today that there will be multiple purveyors for the blink of an eye with these. And when they're gone, they're gone. But can I add the tip that they pickle beautifully?
Oh yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
I pickled some
yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a wild forage crop. They are the first thing in any of our markets every year because they kind of pop up out of the ground on their own in early April. And they're a member of the allium family. They're a wild onion. But the best thing to know about ramps is Chicago is named for this beautiful little plant. These things used to grow like wildfire back in the days when this was American Indian country. And the American Indian name, I think, is Chicago. There are different interpretations of it. Some people say, historians say it means wild onions, and some people say it means stinky onion. And I got to admit, as much as I love Chicago, the idea of living onion USA has a lot of appeal to me. So I'm going with stinky onion.
I am too. I think stinky onion is what we have to go by now. And the other thing is, you can see it says sustainable foraged,
Yeah.
and that's the idea, is that ramps are a delicacy, and people will they'll go into public lands and start harvesting them, and that's
No, don't do that.
that's a big no-no.
That is a no-no. And, a lot of farms that have found these, and especially the ones that have woodlots, have found these on their property. I mean, the interesting thing is, a few years ago, I moved to Chicago 10 years ago when I first started getting involved in this. Farmers would have expeditions downstate to go to, legitimate places where they could hunt for these things and pull them up. And so they really were a delicacy. I mean, what the heck is a ramp? Now they're kind of all over the place. The farmers and then the foragers are finding the places that these things grow and where they're allowed to harvest them. And now you can find them very readily in the markets, and even online in April before the markets open. Whereas a few years ago you couldn't.
Okay,
And isn't the great point about the educative mission of markets, Mike, since you yourself have not tried ramps, and I hope this tempts you to dive right in.
I'll have to look up a recipe first and see what I'm getting myself into. But yeah, I've tried stuff, and I guess I have to try some ramps. Here's one thing that they're beautiful. It's a shame they're so beautiful because I'm not a fan of radishes, really. So here I am. I'm talking about food markets and farmers markets.
Stir fry the greens. Stir fry the greens.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Peggy, excellent point there, because when you're looking to extend your food budget, when you shop at a farmer's market, if you can get root vegetables, beets, radishes, turnips, carrots with their greens on, they're not only edible, they're delicious, and they're extremely packed with nutrients. So you get a lot more value from your purchase if you use those greens. Mike, I think radishes may be one of those local food game changers, because I ate radishes. We had them all my life too, and they were okay. They were kind of peppery and weird and stuff like that. The radishes you get in these are from Frillman Farms, which is they have one farm that where they started in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and now they have a farm in Illinois. And Tim Frillman is the farmer. His brother Joe runs the restaurant Daisy's in Logan Square. And last year, because it was so hard to get customers into a restaurant, they kind of turned Daisy's into a impromptu farmers market. They were selling Tim's produce and some other local produce producers. But you can see the beauties. They're gigantic. And I also got something called Hackyride Turnips from them. They're white turnips, also with greens. And they are so sweet. You can eat them raw, which you can't say about most turnips.
Yeah.
And Nancy wrote to us, said saute the cut radishes in butter. So that's her.
Or roast them. When you roast vegetables or you saute them, it concentrates the sugars, and it makes them much sweeter. So that could offset kind of the peppery in this time of year.
Even raw, a little bit of salt.
Yeah, spring onions everywhere. Yeah. You will see spring onions everywhere, and green garlic at this time of year, which becomes garlic scapes. And right now you're seeing the spring onions that we're all familiar with, basically scallions. But pretty soon you'll see all different varieties, including Tropea, which I'm going to have to write about when it hits the market. It's a red spring onion, And because it's of Italian origin, I call it the Italian scallion.
Okay, Bob, you get another one. Thank you very much.
You see, food is entertaining, people. I mean, come
It
on.
really is. And
The caffeine is kicking in, Bob.
yeah, and Snappy J Dog wrote "pickle your radishes," and I think she's
Oh, yeah.
she's speaking in code, but
No.
I have no.
Pickled
know.
radishes are excellent.
Oh, okay. All right.
My radishes are well pickled. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And this is rhubarb,
Rhubarb.
another one of the most heavily desired early vegetables. Rhubarb is a vegetable, but we kind of think of it in the context of fruit because it's very tart and it complements very sweet fruits in baked goods. So, for instance, the world will be awash in strawberry rhubarb pie as soon as the strawberries hit the market in a couple of weeks. Strawberries are also an early plant. So, you know, if you like really tart food, and I have a high tolerance for sour, you might just eat it on its own, and you can eat it roasted. It's also something that a lot of people pickle. But then when you when the fresh fruit come in, you know, I try and use little sugar, so you really want the sweetest fruit possible, which is another good reason to shop local because it's picked yesterday and it's going to be as fresh as it can be. And again, this is the season for greens. You got your Swiss chard, you got your bok choy, you got your kale there. Spinach, I got some gorgeous spinach at the nickel stand with those tomatoes yesterday. And another thing about early season greens, especially things like spinach, they're called overwintered, and they actually not only survive but they thrive in colder weather. The same thing is about kale, and
They're sweeter.
They are sweeter because that cold, warm, freeze thaw process again concentrates the sugars, and so they're much sweeter than you get during the summer growing season.
Yeah, and
You might find, because I know that Jacobson Family Farms they do Green City plus they do both of my Lincoln Squares, and they did Logan Winter. They have some overwintered roots that are equal to the sweetness you've just described in the green. They have carrots and parsnips, the baby size, and they're fantastic.
And speaking of Lincoln Square Market, this is a view, Elsa, that from the L.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You could literally you walk down the stairs and you're in the market. I mean, it's that close, and that convenience is a real factor, especially for people who want to. You know, I should come up with some kind of passport where you win a prize at the end of the year for visiting the most markets. But I mean, when it's that convenient, just right off the Brown line, and the stores in the background you can see are the base of the Lincoln Square shopping area. So, you know, it's a fun place to go. You get your wonderful local food, then you can go and visit some other places. My asparagus.
This is at the Lincoln Square Market.
This is
yes.
McClure, and boy, have they got gorgeous asparagus. They have purple and green.
Wow.
And everyone is saying the purple is sweeter. So if you're thinking, gosh, I've never tried purple asparagus, I would dive right in before this all disappears. We're going to blink and asparagus will be gone and we'll be on to something else.
And who was this again, Elsa?
That's McClure. You know,
McClure
another,
farm,
just like Nichols, another of the farmers who took some risks and have led the way, and we would not be here today without those folks. I always say that McClure is perfect. Well, here's perfect in a newer incarnation. Urban Canopy came with beef, radishes, and potatoes from their in-city gardening, and they also carry River Valley mushrooms. So that is a lovely business partnership between them, and it gives me mushrooms when I don't have River Valley themselves at my market. I do have them live at Uptown, and then I have Urban Canopy at my other 3 markets.
And I have to get through these last couple of photographs because we're almost out of time here. And of course, this is the Uptown Farmers Market at the
Chicago Market.
Right, Chicago Market, Wilson and
Wilson
Broadway.
Red Line.
Yeah, what's the name of the building again? I'm forgetting the name of the building. The Gerber.
It's the historic Gerber building. It used to be the Wilson Station, and then it is now happily leased to Chicago Market to become a food co-op. And here are some beautiful photos. That's Flower Bakery. I'm not sure what's coming next. But
Oh no, that's it. I'm sort of I have gotten to the end of the line here, and I'm trying to get back to we can get us up here. So there we go. Woo!
Yeah,
All right.
Mike, I know we're rounding out the hour here. So because of this sorry weather today, remember there's always another Sunday. Logan Square will be back in business next weekend, and the Wicker Park Farmers Market will be opening next Sunday too, and they're both right on the blue line. So in the spirit of Ernie Banks, let's play two next weekend. You can hit both Wicker Park and Logan Square, and the advanced weather forecast is beautiful.
It sounds good to me. Listen, you guys, Bob Benenson, Elsa Jacobson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And little inside baseball, speaking of baseball, you guys stepped up. We had a change in schedule due to a family emergency for one of our guests, and I so appreciate the fact that you guys were so flexible and willing to do this with us.
Such a pleasure,
We
Mike.
all the work you do. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, you can see I love to talk, and I love to especially talk about that.
I have a feeling, Bob, you're going to be back and do some regular reports for us. So you keep tabs on everything. And Elsa, good luck this year with running everything. You are the farmers market boss.
I'm in service to them for sure. And really, without folks like you pushing on the other end, this is what brings us our customers. So thank you to the three of you.
Elsa is awesome.
You guys are both awesome. All right. Thanks a lot. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We've got more coming up. Stick around.
Summertime can mean a lot of fun for us, especially if we have access to swimming pools, air conditioning, or ice-cold drinks. But for others, it could be a real struggle, especially if you can't take shelter or go get a glass of water because you're, rooted. Lack of moisture is the most common cause of stress in a landscape, one that is particularly difficult on trees that are very young or very old. It could take months or even years for a tree to fully recover from drought conditions, and that's if it recovers at all. If the leaves or needles on your tree are wilting, discolored, or perhaps even falling off, they could be affected by drought conditions. If this stress is allowed to persist, this tree could be attacked by boring insects or even fall prey to stem and root disease. Sounds awful, right? But what can be done? You can't control the weather. Not to worry, because we can provide your trees with some much needed relief. We can give you guidance on mulching and irrigation. We can monitor your trees for boring insects, bark beetles, diseases, and other common problems that typically impact stressed trees. And upon the return of favorable conditions, fertilizing and pruning can go a long way to help your trees rebound and endure drought conditions.
Kermit, by recycling, we save valuable landfill space and help clean up the environment.
What are you recycling here anyhow, Fozzie?
Bottles, cans, paper, and snoo.
Snoo? What's snoo?
Nothing. What's snoo with you?
To find out how you can help clean up the environment, write to Make a Difference, National Wildlife Federation, Washington, D.C. 20036.
Even that snoo joke was recycled.
Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio with just a soupçon of humor. Or is that a dash? Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, rutabaga. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good tools to make me music, porches, lawn serene. Give me me all that I can
And welcome
be.
back. I had another screen set up, and I realized that it's got 2 pictures of me on it, and that's not good. I don't
What's
want.
new?
What's new? Isn't that great? I've started just looking for. Oh, I think I can fix this here. All right, let's go to Peggy. There we go. Now we do that. If I pop this up, okay. Are you? Wait, and we need to. Yeah, I think we can pop this.
Do we need a drum roll?
No. Hey. Yeah. All right.
Oh.
There we
Hello.
go. And
There we are.
yeah, it's a little tighter. In fact, I need one more thing here.
Where's our little logo there?
There. Okay. Now. Oh,
Whoops.
see. No. See, I'm trying to do both. There we go. Now I got no. It's okay. I know what I did wrong. Okay. You folks talk amongst yourselves here.
Yeah, I'll go watch the birds out the window. There's a sparrow sitting. There we go.
I'm looking at the. Okay. Yeah. You've had some really interesting birds in your yard lately.
Yeah. As the show's been on this morning, I've had a couple grosbeaks come and go. There's been a couple orioles hopping around, several different kinds of sparrows. No indigo buntings today, though. I had those 2 days ago.
Well, la-dee-da, the indigo buntings. Oh, wait. Where's the 2 camera? See, I didn't set this up.
Someone just said to take the controls away from you.
I know, right? Okay. All right, you're right. All right, we'll go back. I wanted to we'll just leave that there. Okay. We could have the larger picture. See, I can
Hey,
do it.
folks.
Yeah, really. But one of the things I've been doing is
Can you tell we have no second-hour guest?
hey, come on. Come on. Don't give stuff away. Don't do that.
We do. We have Rick coming up.
That's right. And then I could go this and have us go, oh, look at that.
Whoa.
It doesn't and tilt back. Yeah, there we go. I'll probably go back to the other one. That probably works better. What I've been doing lately is going on the used tubes and finding the used tubes and finding old PSAs for the environment. That's where we found the Kermit and Fozzie.
I saw
that's
that.
hilarious.
There's no website. There's no website on there. It says
Oh,
right
it probably
to.
doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's thing's probably 30, 40 years old. Who knows how old that thing is? But there's some great ones out there. So I think every now and then I'm just going to pop in a classic, get it in there, and just
So send us your links, folks, if there's classic YouTube videos.
that you need. We're gonna go. I tell you what, I'm gonna show. Yeah, you should take the controls away from me. Really, it's not.
Is that Casey Tomato hiding his JG?
His what?
Is that you out there, Casey?
What do you mean hiding it?
So we just wrote Casey Tomato
Oh, really?
up
Okay.
there. That
So-
might be KC hiding under a different name.
One of the things we said we were going to talk about, because it was so cool this past week, Kathleen and I got to go to Montrose Beach and see Monty. We visited Monty and Rose. I mean, that was just so much. I know. It was so much fun. And my thanks to Leslie Bournes, who's a steward there, and she's just doing remarkable work, and so is Bob Dolgan, who's been on the show. Leslie, you're not going to get her on a program like this. She's going to defer every single time. But Bob, is a filmmaker and made the film Monty and Rose, and he's doing Monty and Rose 2. And we met them on Wednesday, and it was a day kind of like yesterday, sort of a little bit windy, cool, but bright, sunny. I don't think there was a cloud in the sky. So we get there and we talked to Leslie for a little bit, and then Bob showed up. And what happens is people, they come by, excuse me, and they're saying, so what have you seen today? And so the birders talk to each other. Okay, what's been seeing there and the
Yeah, because it's almost the height of migration right now. So
right, and so there are different birds that people have been noting, and of course there's that. I did take another photo, and I should have popped that up. I didn't do that. Maybe I'll do it real quickly while we're watching the video. But you can see the area that's been marked off by the Park District. And they added 3.1 acres to the natural area. But the rumor was when we got there that Monty and Rose were outside. They had been seen outside of the saying, "Hey, you guys, you're supposed to stay inside." Well, plovers don't care. They just go wherever they want. And there were very few people on the beach because it was cool and windy, and some people came out. So we walk over to the beach side outside of the area, and of course that's where we find Monty and Rose. Now I didn't find them. We were walking that way, and then Bob came over and joined us, and he said, "There they are." And I said, "What?" And
starstruck all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. We got I have a monocular. I couldn't find the binoculars, but I have a monocular, which is really very cool instrument. And we were able to watch them. And, everybody's got long lens cameras, all the, photography. And there were not a lot of people, but Bob had his camera out, and other folks did as well. There were maybe 3 or 4 photographers I saw out there during the course of an hour, a little over an hour. And so I'm going to show you this video that I took, and I did it with my Android. So it's not a close-up by any stretch of the imagination, and it is you'll see. But that's for the average person who comes out to Montrose Beach and they're watching, unless they've got their binoculars and they know where to look. If they don't have them, this is kind of the view you're going to get, because we were not going to get very close to the birds. We're maintaining a distance, 50 yards, something like that. We gave them plenty of room. And there was Leslie, and Leslie and Bob. They greet people and say, by the way, those are piping plovers over there, and you have to kind of keep your distance. And because a lot of people come, they don't have any idea. They bring in their dogs, and they're walking with the family, and they just don't know that the birds are out there, and the birds don't seem to care either. So let's let's take a look at this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, folks, that's Monty and Rose over there, not the gull, but I'm using the gull as a marker. Which one is the sandpiper? Okay.
I think that's what I just saw. Does the sandpiper look like a smaller, skinnier gull? No? Oh, do you see?
Okay, and that's it. I mean, there they were, those tiny little birds there. It was just so cool, though, to have them there. Should I show that one? It goes by so fast. Should I show it one more time, do you think? Or just leave what?
It's up to you.
But it'll give me a chance to sort of load in that other photo that I wanted to put in there. So, yeah, one more time. Just a reprise.
Okay.
Here we go. Whoops. It would help if, here we go. All right, folks, that's Monty and Rose over there, not the gull, but I'm using the gull as a marker.
There's a sandpiper over there, too.
Which one is the sandpiper?
Farthest to the right.
Okay.
I think that's what I just saw. Does the sandpiper look like a smaller, skinnier gull? No? Oh, do you see?
Okay, let's get
Sandpipers are fun too. The way they run back and forth so fast on their little legs.
Well, I'll tell you, the piping plovers do that too. They go by pretty fast.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't keep up with them. It's just so interesting. Okay, and I have that photo here. Let me pop this image on. There we go. Let's go here.
And Montrose is one of the top birding spots in Chicago, actually probably one of the top birding spots in the country for migration, because just of where it's located right on the lake, everything stops there.
Right. And here's okay, let's get us out of here. And there you can see there's the fencing there, and the area where they've fenced it off. It doesn't give you a whole lot of information in this photo, but they've got the sign, so people have to be careful when they go there. So I don't know. It was just really fun. It was.
You got to see them.
I got to see them. I didn't think I would ever actually see them in person, but I begged Bob. I said, "You got to take me out there, dude. You got to do that."
So yeah. Well, there's been other birding news this week too, and I think I shared the article with you at Labaw Woods, which we were out for 1 year for the International Migratory Bird Day.
Right. Did we miss that? Or is it coming up?
It's I think it's either this Saturday or this past Saturday, because I'm mentally blanking it out.
Okay.
All the bird counts were yesterday. Spring bird count was yesterday. By
the way, I just got to tell you, we got a question here online. Is the dock open yet? Who cares about the dock? It's Monty and Rose. Who cares? I don't want the dock to open. It's like there'd be too many people. We got Monty and Troy.
Yeah.
They're trying to make a nest. I said to Bob, well, what if they make a nest here out in the open area away from the natural area? And he said, I sure hope they don't, because they'll have to fence it off and keep people away from it.
Yeah, it's right in front of the dock. Out at Labaw, which is on the northwest side on the river, which is another huge birding area, they have spotted for 3 or 4 days this week a broad-billed hummingbird. The birds, people have been coming far and wide to see this. It's way off course. It belongs in the Southwest, and it's just been another famous bird in the area, almost kind of topping Monty and Rose this year. And they figure the bird is, something's wrong with the bird's migration. Yeah, it's just that it's Southwest breezes brought it up here, and it's been feeding on Ohio buckeye. And
wow,
happy as can be. There's so many photos, and even made the Tribune on Wednesday. It's only the third rare hummingbird stop in Labaw Woods is a once-in-a-lifetime sight for Chicago birders. It is only the third spotting of the bird in Illinois.
Wow,
over the years.
Okay.
Yeah, it generally found summering in Mexico, along with areas in southern Arizona and New Mexico. How it ended up flitting between trees more than 1,500 miles from its usual grounds is a bit of a mystery. Birders believe its navigation system is broken, and it had some bad luck with strong winds. But Jeff Scretny's been posting it regularly on his Birding in Labaw Woods group and his Facebook page, and Chicago Audubon, Chicago Ornithological Society have been buzzing about it lately.
That is, and it amazes me that somebody spots it, and then somebody else is able, somebody who spots it says, "Oh, that's it's a blah blah." What kind of hummingbird is that?
Broad-billed hummingbird.
Broad-billed.
It's a little green bird with a big red bill.
And then everybody gets out there and they confirm it.
A lot of people have seen it. Yeah.
What was it? I saw.
Don't know that it's still there.
Yeah. By the way, I've got one more photo that I got here that I managed to just put up from Monty and Rose, and you can see, and I'll get us out of the picture here. And you can see the area that they've carved out there. It's all pretty interesting. Jeff Scretny wrote something the other day that I found interesting. It's to somebody who had seen, maybe it was that hummingbird, because he was talking about how, he got word of it, and he's like dropping everything and knocking things over so he can get out of the house and go and find it. And somebody said, "Oh, well, I didn't get a photo of it." And Scretny said, "If you didn't get a photo of it, it didn't happen. You got to get a photo of it." I thought that was pretty funny, but that's true. I've thought about that. Even the birds in our yard, and now I've identified a baker's dozen at least of different birds.
I've never heard of that species.
Right. Well, it's got caramel colored belly and sort of
it's got feathers and...
yeah, Yeah, and a beak. But I don't even know what the point was that it would be because I'm actually I think I saw a female oriole in the yard this week. Oh, I know
Nice.
why I was going to say that because I wanted to get a photo of it and I didn't. So it didn't happen. According to Jeff Screntney, did not happen. So there you go.
That's why I posted my indigo buntings. No photo yet. Sorry.
And the couple other things we wanted to talk about, we want to give a plug again to the 60-second garden video challenge by the Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards. It's ongoing now. You can go to chicagogardeningawards.org. And I don't think you want to go out today if you're in the Midwest. What a lousy day to take photos. But actually, the lighting would probably be pretty good.
Yeah. And if there's moisture on the leaves.
Yeah, you could get, so maybe it isn't such a bad day to take photos. Your fingers might fall off, but other than that, it'll be fine. But the contest is open. Again, we have 2 sessions. We have spring and summer, and spring is now through the end of June. So get your spring garden. And a lot of, it's interesting. We've had the 80-degree day wreaked havoc on my crabapple blooms. They opened just when we hit that first 80-degree day last week, and we had 2 in a row.
Yeah.
And by the end of the second day, the blooms were done. They can go days. And look, and the tree can look beautiful, but the wind and the heat just did them in. And the same thing happens with certain spring flowers. If you get that heat,
the tulips will come and go in a hurry.
They'll go like in a day because it's just too much for them. And it was very frustrating because now we've got this cold, and I have some other flowers, and as I said, my Carya japonica or Japanese rose, they call it. I think that is the common name. I don't know. I just know the Latin name. That bloomed for 3 weeks because it had the right temperatures. Just pretty amazing. Cool. But at any rate, now's the time for folks to get out and take photos of their garden and enter the Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards 60-second garden video challenge.
And this is kind of good because for the last 4 years we've been talking about we should have a spring section. Right. And this makes it so much easier to do it this way. To get the ephemerals, to get the viburnums, the chokeberries, all the flowering shrubs right now before the heat hits.
Yeah, if it does. And you just never know in any given season. In fact, we'll be looking at go ahead. Yes.
I was going to say, so if somebody's not sure what we're talking about, the 60-second video challenge, you go out, take your camera, take a bunch of stills, or take a video, do whatever you want, put it together, put music behind it, or not, get fancy, put in titles, or not, upload it. We look at it, make sure that you don't have copywritten music in there, and then post it to YouTube, and you can tell all your friends, neighbors, acquaintances, and everybody else, send them there, and have them vote for you. People's choice.
And I see Tree Skeetman is with us, and I'd be kind of interested in what his observations on a couple of 80-degree days and what that does for trees that are leafing out and coming into season. And you also, by the way, mentioned to me before the show, and I want to get to one of the things is the watering alert that you got from Nature's Perspective Landscaping.
Nature's Perspective.
Yeah.
In Evanston.
I'm going to talk about that with Rick when he joins us in a few minutes. Because as you mentioned, you haven't gotten any rain in this event.
I mean, nothing. It's dry as a bone out there. Nothing.
Yikes. And I've gotten 2/10 of an inch in my backyard so far. There maybe, I might get a quarter of an inch when all is said and done. But we've been getting, you were telling me about the plant healthcare report and the home yard and garden pest newsletter, which comes out from the Illinois Extension. The plant healthcare report comes out from the Morton Arboretum. And I noticed that there's a jumping worm update
Yeah, I saw that.
from, and I have them, folks. We a few weeks ago we were going to come back and talk about jumping worms, but we never did get around to it. And the Home Yard and Garden Pest newsletter says that jumping worms were first identified in Illinois in 2015. They've been confirmed in several counties across the state. Observations suggest eggs can overwinter in warmer parts of the state. I see that's changed. I thought when they first report, and we had a U of I guy on our show, I think in 2017, talking about this, or maybe 2018. They're native to East Asia. They have been sold in the United States as bait under the names crazy worm, Alabama jumper, and snake worm. Thank you, folks, you anglers, for doing this to us. The worm has characteristic coloration and behavior. Adult worms are approximately the same size as other naturalized earthworms, but are much darker. Most of the body is dark gray or brown with a milky white or light gray band of tissue circling the body. It's the clitellum. The clitellum is smooth compared to other species where it's raised compared to the body. When disturbed, jumping worms become very active, wriggling and thrashing vigorously. Yeah, I call them writhing worms. I don't really think of them as jumping. So management...
But why are they bad?
Well, they're voracious consumers of organic material, can affect soil quality. Organic matter in the soil is converted to earthworm casings, giving the top layers a grainy structure that looks like dry coffee grounds. Yep, I've seen that in my yard where I've got them. This affects the soil structure, availability of nutrients in the soil, and soil water holding capacity. In turn, these changes can affect plant growth. And they breed quickly, and the eggs survive Illinois winters. Now, earlier they said the warmer places in Illinois. Adults reach maturity in approximately 60 days, allowing populations to double during the growing season. Here's the good news. They're also capable of reproducing without mating. Oh, boy.
Woohoo!
Yay.
So, yeah, can't get rid of them.
There are concerns about the effect these worms will have on native areas, ornamental plantings, and agronomic fields. They've been identified in several states, including Wisconsin and Indiana. From reports from Wisconsin, it appears that these worms are most damaging in areas without other established earthworm populations. That's interesting. Now, they say management consists of preventing the spread of these invasive worms. Well, guess what? They're already in my yard. Recommendations to prevent the spread of jumping worms and their eggs include clearing equipment before moving to another site, cleaning equipment before moving to another site, reducing the transportation of mulch and soil, and carefully inspecting nursery plants before installing them in a new landscape. If soil is infested, maintaining organic matter through fertilization and mulching may help reduce the adverse effects of the worms. It doesn't sound like a lot of help, really.
No.
They're
here.
Yeah. I mean, gypsy moths are here. We're not going to eradicate that. We've got emerald ash borer. It's here. We don't know because 2013 is when the jumping worms showed up, and what the ultimate. Yeah, right. Probably here before then. They're identified at that point, and what they will do. How they're going to affect our growing. It's kind of hard to say. Right now, nobody really knows about that. So, there's your jumping worms update.
Jumping worm update for the week.
All right, give that a ding. Hey, jumping worm. Wait, here's one.
Well, KC says they're in Missouri, or misery, as he wrote.
Okay, Casey. So I'm glad you've got them too. Everybody now. Send us your jumping worms.
Jump.
Yeah, that's right. Let's do it. But right, there's a dance. We need to do but you have to writhe. You have to kind of writhe around. Any of those? We got 30 seconds here. Anything else that you saw?
Upcoming show. Who's on next week? We got a big show coming up.
Ooh, we got two big shows. coming up. Next week, we've got Marta Keene from Will County. She's a recycling expert, and I know recycling is near and dear to my heart. And there have been changes in Chicago, and I just want to talk to her, get her alone, and say, okay, explain why you can't recycle this, why you can't recycle that, what can you recycle? Because people are mighty confused by the whole thing. It's become very much more complex than it should be. But 2 weeks from today, this I'm really stoked about.
Drum roll.
Yeah. We're going to have Suzanne Malik McKenna, former commissioner of the department, the late great Department of the Environment, and Sandra of Chicago, right? Sorry, yes, not the U.S. And Sandra Henry, who was Rahm Emanuel's final sustainability coordinator for the city of Chicago.
She is watching right now, by the way.
Oh, good. And they are going to be on together. And we're going to talk about the state of the environment in Chicago. And I am so stoked. What we're going to do is a deep dive. We're going to devote the whole program to that, with the exception of our Rick DiMaio segment. But we're going to go from 9 to 10:30, just talking to these two brilliant women and get their observations of what they've seen in Chicago, where we're headed, are we on the right track? And they know where the bodies are buried, okay, so to speak. So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting conversation, something I've been hoping to do for a long time, and it is finally coming together. So that's on the 23rd of May, and we hope you'll be here to listen to Sandra Henry and Suzanne Malik McKenna. It's going to be a great show. Okay, we got meteorologist Rick DiMaio coming up next. Stick around.
Today's world moves at dizzying speeds. We're used to getting food when we want it and how we want it. But at Sitka Salmon Shares, we think waiting can be a good thing. That's because we're a community-supported fishery. We wait for our smallboat fishermen to catch our fish using low-impact gear before we blast freeze it and ship it directly to you. Just like the fruits and veggies at your farmer's market or local CSA, wild-caught fish are harvested seasonally, which ensures the best taste. Sadly, the industrial seafood supply chain often takes fish around the world before it lands on your plate. And most fish from grocery stores and internet seafood providers can be frozen for well over a year. That fish waits for you instead of you waiting for it. It certainly doesn't taste as good, and that's a fact. It's also not as good for our planet. That's why we wait.
Whether you're a farmer or a backyard gardener, assist your soil in providing key nutrients to your plants with Spectrum Soil Inoculum from Tineo Biologicals. The beneficial microorganisms in Spectrum break down and release vital nutrients and make them more accessible to your plants. Spectrum works with nature to decompose organic matter into humus, building richer, healthier soil. Spectrum is approved for use on certified organic crops and is OMRI listed. Get Spectrum at blazing-star.com.
Since 2001, DiveHeart has been revolutionizing rehabilitation using zero gravity and scuba therapy to give confidence, independence, self-esteem, and yes, freedom to children, veterans, and others with disabilities. At DiveHeart, we believe in the power of partnership because together we can do great things. Let DiveHeart help you imagine the possibilities in your life. Go to diveheart.org to learn more.
You have the ability to give your soil a superpower. It's called composting. If you don't have a backyard, you need to contact Collective Resource Compost. CRC has diverted 7,000 tons of food scraps since 2010. They bring you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter from your kitchen, they swap it out and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us. And welcome back to the show. And there he is, meteorologist Rick DiMaio.
Rick.
Let me wait. I think his mic is.
Good morning.
Oh, his mic is
There
on.
he is.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So
Great.
we've got partly blue sky and
Little bit of
sunshine
sunshine?
up here in Lake County. Yeah.
Yep. And totally different in areas to the south. I'll send you guys a quick graphic that you can share with your listeners, Mike and Peg. But heavy rainfall to the south of us, and it's amazing. This was definitely kind of, as Peg has pointed out, sunshine to the north, basically feast or famine. And depending on where you were, you got a lot of rain. Depending on where you were, you got very little rain, to put it bluntly.
Or no rain.
So or no rain.
Right.
But I think O'Hare Field came in with. I'm trying to look at their observations right now. I don't think the latest came in. Looks like 0.12 inches. Yep, 0.12 inches for O'Hare. If you bear with me here, I'll read these off so the listeners could check out their rain gauges as well. Midway Airport, 0.77. That's a pretty good number there. A little bit further down to the south, Lewis University, Romeoville, northwestern part of Joliet, looks like 1.27 inches. So clearly the further south you go, the more rain you got. Down around Peatone, check this out, 2.25 inches of rain down in Peatone.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty decent down there. And I think, last but not least, Tallgrass Prairie, that area down there, looks like about, I think their rain gauge hasn't been emptied in a while. But it looks like about, only because it's saying 6 inches. That's not right.
No.
But it looks like, no, I'm looking at when the numbers actually started to total up, in about 1.98 inches. So again, in areas to the south of us, they got quite a bit of rain, and to the north, nothing. So I think we are now on 131 consecutive days without a half-inch rainfall in a calendar day for O'Hare. That's the fourth longest streak ever. So again, the areas that needed the rain didn't get it. The areas that did not need the rain got a lot of it. And certain areas to the north and west of us, there could even been maybe a couple of wet snowflakes mixed in, but nothing was reported. So I doubt anything came down. But yeah, unusually cool and unusually wet and windy for Mother's Day 2021.
Yeah, I went out before the show and checked my gauge. I had about 0.2, and so because I'm a bit north of Midway, and it's kind of a severe demarcation. Peggy has 0. I'm at 0.2. O'Hare was at 0.16 or something. What did you say?
0.25, yeah.
Oh, 0.25. Yeah, so they got more than I did, or my gauge isn't accurate, but it gives me a rough idea of what I had here. But the point is,
Lake and McHenry probably got nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get I did not even get a quarter inch of rain. And let me pop up this map because you sent this to us. This is the soil moisture map for the area. Now, is that arrow actually? That little dark arrow, that's an area that is really had, it's only been drier than that less than 1% of the time. Is that
what they're doing in there is they compare what's called percentiles. So if you would have 100 years, there were 99 years that were drier than this particular year. It doesn't mean that we actually had that, but when you're looking at numbers over a certain period of time, percentiles and medians and ranges, all those things can get kind of tricky. But I wouldn't be surprised, Mike, when you checked your rain gauge until this past hour, there was a little burst of rain that came through. So you may have gotten like another 1/10 of an inch. But other than that, I mean, I took my dog for a walk this morning, and I know, and there were actually areas under trees that were dry. So it showed you just to the south of us, it came down pretty good. And that was kind of the thought with this whole thing, is there was going to be a real sharp cutoff between north and south. Now, does that mean we're in it for the long haul? I don't think so. Again, it's still early in the month of May. There have been other years past where we've been this dry and we've gotten, decent amounts of rain. It's not widespread, as you can see just to the south of us, but there are some concerns in people's lawns and yards where you're not getting the rain, where you're kind of worrying about it. It's interesting. We made it down into the upper 20s yesterday morning. That little cold snap, I think, kind of came upon us pretty quickly. And one of the reasons I noted, or I kind of noticed that the temperatures dropped off dramatically, was the ground was dry. And typically this time of the year, when you have a lot of soil moisture, that moisture actually holds in the warmth. So when you have really, really dry soil, you could easily knock 2 or 3 degrees off of that. And it was interesting to see. There was some areas like Aurora got down to 27, DuPage County Airport 28, O'Hare 37, Urban Heat Island. But just to show you how dryness works, back in 1983, we had 3 consecutive days of very, very cold weather. May 8th, May 9th, May 10th, we had a very, very dry month of June, and then we got into a very hot and dry summer, and it turned out to be one of the driest summers on record in 1983. And I remember that clearly because I got up to Madison, Wisconsin in, I think it was about the first week of July, maybe the second week of July, for my orientation. I was transferring there, and I just was blown away by how brown everything looked on the bus trip from Ohio through Indiana, through Illinois, and into Wisconsin. And sure enough, that's all everybody was talking about was the dryness that we had. So even though we did get some rain this morning to the south of us, that'll help those out that didn't need it, and places up north, you got to wait for the next one, and that one may not be until maybe next Saturday. So we're down 5 inches. This is the 3rd driest stretch from January 1st through May 8th that we've ever seen. And by the way, those numbers come from Paul Merzlock, who does work with WGN. He's also one of my colleagues at Lewis University, so I got to give him the props on that. But when you look just at the information or the local climate study for O'Hare, that's pretty remarkable considering the fact that we've been so wet the last 3 Mays, and this has just totally gone the other way. It really is interesting.
If you could clarify something, though, when you say it's the driest, for what area are you talking specifically? O'Hare and Chicago?
Yeah. See, climate is really tough when you especially when you're looking at precipitation. And what you really need to do, and this is one of the things you do when you learn how to do graduate study research, is you just can't take a point. You got to do a whole bunch of points and then take an average of that and then get one point that represents a larger area. But if you do that, if you take that larger area and you average it out and just take a point for O'Hare, yeah, that point at O'Hare, if you look at the larger scale, this is the 4th driest spell from January 1st into early May. Now, the only thing that's keeping us okay is the fact that we've had some really, really cool weather in the months in the second half of April and parts of May. Whenever you get, I noticed even last week after those 2 warm days of Saturday and Sunday, things got crinkly.
And the wind.
And the wind, without a doubt, that evaporates a lot of moisture. And the last week, though, as Peg could allude to, and Mike as well, but I'm 4 blocks from the lake, it's been miserable. I mean, it's just been way, way too cold. I mean, you step outside it, it's 48 degrees out. I mean, come on already.
And there's a wind chill.
And there's a wind chill. You're right. I mean, I rode my bike yesterday. I was wearing hat and gloves. And here it is, May 8th. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But that's the pattern we're in. And you know what? We go right back into a cool pattern. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday could be the first day where we don't have a lake breeze. That's it. The next 4 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Lake breeze, lake breeze, lake breeze, lake breeze.
And
so get used to it.
Well, I was looking at the maps of the rainfall for this particular event. It looked like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Iowa, which was really hurting, was going to get some rain out of this.
Yeah, they got a decent 1.5 of rain. I don't know how the markets, corn and soybean, are going to react to it. I think the farmers know long term they could be okay based on the pattern. Still seems still seems highly variable. There's a lot of wet systems that could come through between now and the end of the month. Again, it's not June 9th, it's May 9th. A lot of things can happen between now and then. But again, I think everybody is still looking at how the dryness could actually begin to connect, from the desert Southwest to the north.
Yeah.
And again, that's the big concern. So we're still doing okay. It's like us talking about how little snow we had in the third week of January, and then boom. I mean, it changed on a dime.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we had, in some areas of Chicago, had over 50 inches of snow. For the winter, that lasted 4.5 weeks.
And I was in one of those areas. We got hammered here in the city.
Yeah, and it
itself.
just kept snowing and snowing and snowing.
Right. And you're like, okay, when is it going to stop snowing? But a lot of that snow was really dry. It didn't have a lot of moisture content to it. So as much snow as we got, you were talking 25, 28 to 1 ratios. It wasn't an 8 to 1 ratio at all. It was one of the more remarkable series of events of enormously heavy snow. I think that we'll probably see around here for another 30 years. That was historic.
Wow. And something Peggy and I were talking about earlier, she sent me, and maybe you want to address this, Peggy. I don't know if you have it in front of you, the Nature's Perspective.
I don't have it open at the moment.
Okay, I do. A landscaping outfit that we've had on our show before, Nature's Perspective Landscaping in Evanston, sent out a watering alert this week. And it said, and they were quoting the Tribune, precipitation of more than trace has been recorded just 4 times this month, amounting to 0.67 inches of rain through April 28th, the 6th lowest total on record for April since 1871. And they're telling people that you got to start paying attention to the water levels in your plants. And
water deeply.
And especially if you've planted a tree early, and and you get faked out, as you were just talking about, Rick, because it's cool, and people say, "Oh, they equate water with coolness." It's a really strange phenomenon.
Yeah, and you also equate green with okay, but a lot of the grass is coming up due to the fact that it's relying on photosynthesis to get green, and then once it goes, okay, I've had enough. Now I have to start going down into the soil to get my energy, and it goes, it's not there. What do I have to do differently now? So I think it's also a good time for a pause and to go, this is really how nature works. It's incredibly resilient, but at the same time, it's also kind of finicky on making sure that everything that it gets at the right time every year. I was riding my bike up through Gilson Park, and they had a native plant sale up at Gilson Park, and it was amazing how this is actually in Wilmette.
Wilmette, yeah,
Wilmette,
right by Baha'i.
Right there. And I was amazed how many people were out and about buying native plants, and it was cool because it wasn't just a plant sale, but it was a native plant sale. And I think that was really great that, communities like Evanston and Wilmette focus on native plants and making sure that people are not going out and about and Googling, how do I make my garden look like the best garden in the world? You don't need that. You just need the native plants there to make sure that they're doing the right thing and making sure that these plants are not trying to grab up moisture and sunlight that they not normally are getting. So kudos to the native plant sale up in West. By the way, Mike, I mentioned your name, and the price of my plants were 10% higher. Yeah, so
I was going to say they escorted you to the exit. No,
thanks, Rick.
You didn't. I mentioned Peg's name, and I got free breakfast, egg, sausage, and hot coffee. So. You're doing something wrong there, Mike. I don't know what's up with that.
Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I want to let you know we got a report from our buddy, Pat Scatch. He says he spoke with his farmer friend today. This was, when did we get this? Yesterday. And he says all planting of corn and soybeans completed yesterday on the 7th.
That's great.
5,000 acres completely planted. not the earliest completion, but ahead of schedule. Surrounding farmers also worked 18 to 20-hour days, and most are completed as well. So, and that's south of here.
Yeah, and that's great news because they've had the dry weather, they've had the dry soil, and they knew that this rain was coming, so they wanted to get that in. And now it's just a matter of time for things to germinate. So I would not be surprised if most of our nearby crops are going to be just fine. I think they're going to be okay with that. It's the backyard farmer, it's the weekend warrior. Those are the ones that go to the store and buy something and they plant it, and then a week later they go, okay, how come you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing here?
Well, they're not paying attention to the water, and I'll give you an example. I want to say a month ago, it might even have been 6 weeks ago. It was probably a month ago. I transplanted a coneflower that's in front on my parkway because it was very close to the sidewalk and pretty vulnerable, and in a big city, you got coneflower blooms and somebody will come by and just lop it off. So I put it more in the middle of the bed where it's likely to thrive. So I planted it, root system, got it in there, got it in the ground, watered it in, go the next day, it looks great. I keep going back to it, and it's become my barometer, if you will. It's a rain gauge. It's a living rain gauge for me because several times I've looked at it and the leaves have started to curl because it doesn't have a great root system yet. It hasn't, and these were times when the weather's been cool. We had a little bit of rain, and I expected it to be thriving, and the leaves were curled, and I would water it, and it would pop back. And it's been my living rain gauge about how little water we've had. It's been very, very interesting to watch.
What is the best plant from a potted plant, a hanging plant, for people to buy for their balconies that don't get a lot of sun?
Begonias are great because they're very colorful and they're tougher than a lot of people think. I've got they'll take some cold, they'll take some dryness. So those are good for potted plants. I'd have to Peggy, have you got anything else in mind off the top of your head?
Doesn't get a lot of sun. What do you think, Peg?
Well,
hanging baskets.
Are you looking for something that blooms or just nice foliage or what? Because pretty much you can take any of the tropicals that you have indoors and they don't need sun. They just need bright indirect light. And so I take a lot of my tropicals, like I said, some begonias. I have a spider plant. I have a wax plant. I have...
Casey just suggested fuchsia hummingbird attractor.
Right.
That was my next question. Because where we used to live on the northwest side of Evanston, we had a hummingbird feeder, and every day we get the hummingbirds out. But I got a feeling in the more urban area of Evanston, that's probably not going to be the case. Am I right about that?
Well, if you have things that attract them, though, and some of your neighbors do as well.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't think the same one from Evanston is going to find us over here on this side, but there were two hummingbirds, and man, they were beautiful to watch. But I'm kind of missing out on that, but
you might still get something if you give them enough time to find it. I'm hoping to do that this year. I've been here 20 years now and seen exactly 3 hummingbirds in 20 years, and I'm smack in the middle of the city, but I know there are hummingbirds around. They'll show up in the parks, but so I have to work a little harder on that.
By the way, a little bit of an update on the Great Lakes. Last week, I sent you pictures of all the work that the city of Evanston did.
Yeah.
I rode my bike up through Northwestern, and from the new athletic center all the way down to the end of the lagoon where the arts building is, Mike and Peg, they completely rebuilt the seawall there. Completely. They took out all of the rocks that the kids have spent years graffitiizing, which is a shame.
No!
They took all of them. Yep, those are all gone. I know. Peg, your rock is gone. Sorry about that.
Oh, come on.
But what's interesting is they rebuilt the seawall, but it never goes. What's that?
Out on the Lakeville.
Yeah, well, it's right on. It's basically the Lake Michigan shoreline there.
Yeah, the Lakeville is what's called. Yeah.
Okay, that's what they call it. But what they did is they put the same large black filled sand canvas bags that they had on Lee Street Beach up on Northwestern. So
Wow.
they went the full route. They put in 2 rows of literally a buffer to keep the water and the rocks from basically collapsing, because that whole area literally sunk about 2 or 3 feet from the fact that the lake was so high and it was literally destroying those rocks. That's all been rebuilt. I also went up, as I mentioned, to Gilson Beach, and they literally added, I'm not kidding you, they probably added at least 100 feet of beach. I was blown away. So clearly the city of Wilmette has some money, which I know they do.
Yeah.
But they made the decision, we're going to rebuild our beach because that's the only way you can get people to the beach. Because clearly when you don't have enough beach and then you still have to social distance, although I think those rules are probably going to go away, that's a really tough thing for the cities to manage. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not some of the beaches, maybe, on the south side of Chicago or a little bit further north, that don't have the same amount of revenue are able to do that kind of, management. But again, this is what we're looking at, and also whether or not the beaches over in Indiana and Michigan will also rebuild some of their beaches. So the good news about the dry weather is that the lake level continues to drop. We're now down 11.5 inches from where we were last year. And again, it's not the rain we get here. It's the rain in Wisconsin and Michigan. But it still looks like the rain that the precipitation that you normally get this time of the year that you're not. We can easily go back into a dry pattern, and we could be in worse shape from a standpoint of a drought as we head maybe into the middle of the summer. But again, bad news for farmers, bad news for gardeners, but good news for the Great Lakes. So it's kind of like one of those stories that has 2 sides to it. It's good for the Great Lakes.
Well, good news.
What's that, Peggy?
Equilibrium being reached somehow.
Well, and good news for the piping plovers as well. When I went to see Monty and Rose on Wednesday, and I was talking to Bob, and I said, where would the lake level have been last year? And he said, well, where we're standing now would have been underwater. And it was like 30 feet from the shoreline. So they added another about, I would guess about 30 feet that would have been underwater last year. And so
it is.
The birds have more places to nest now. They have and so I'm wondering if some of that was in effect in the beaches you were looking at in Evanston and Wilmette.
Yeah, probably so. And I'm teaching 2 climate change classes at Loyola this summer, and I'm really bummed out, 2nd year in a row, that I have to do the classes remotely, because when I teach those classes on campus during the summertime, there's nothing better than an evening class being brought down to the lakefront and walking along the lake or just sitting there. And, you and Mike and Peg, you both have been right there at the entrance to the Madonna del Strata Cathedral. And you look out over the lake, and it's probably one of the prettiest places in the city of Chicago. But teaching there during the summertime and bringing your students to, the 7th largest body of fresh water in the world, and being able to explain to them things that you're trying to get across to them, I got to do again through a computer. So hopefully this will be the last year that we do things, but we're slowly, I think, as we all know, getting back to normal. So
it's been kind of a theme for the show today. Is the idea is that outdoors is better. It's, and especially outdoors with masks, there's nothing like it. And that's pretty safe right now. And that's what we've determined. So if you can get, I hope that they'll figure out that if you can get students to wear the masks, and you can go outside and be socially distanced, and you could probably have classes there again.
And even if it's cold and rainy and windy, there's a reason to go outside. There's something new to see every single day.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need a forecast here so we can get out.
Okay. First off, happy Mother's Day to everybody. So basically, the rain is over. Again, about 2/10 of an inch north side, literally none further north. 3/4 of an inch at Midway, and 1 to 2 inches for our south. High today about 50 degrees. Normal high is 68. Again, upper 40s lakefront tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. low to mid 50s inland. And because the upper levels of the atmosphere are going to be really cool, we're going to see these instability clouds and a couple of sprinkles develop not only tomorrow, but also Tuesday. And then that cool pocket moves east. And then it looks like basically sunshine and dry for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe 70 degrees by next Saturday. So next Saturday is the next day we're actually near normal. And then another front comes through, but hopefully with that front next Saturday and Sunday, some rain. So literally the next chance of any appreciable rain, probably not until next Sunday. And if that's the case, then we'll be officially 6 inches, 6 inches of rain below normal for the year.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Wow.
That's a lot.
And
the only thing that's keeping us from being in a significant drought stage is the fact that it's been cool. So we're living life on the edge, as they say.
Yeah, and you don't want to get too far into deficit because then you can't make it up at some point, I would guess.
It takes a lot to make up 6 inches of rain this time of the year. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Rick, thanks so much. Have a great Mom's Day. Stay warm. Okay, here we are in May. Stay warm.
Put on your gloves and your hat.
Yeah, okay.
A turtleneck.
Crazy. Yeah.
All right, see you next week.
Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. And that's it, I guess. All right, that's a wrap. I'm sorry I didn't get that. I'm still looking at that setup for the two, and I see what I did wrong now, but it's too late to
Well, you
do
could
it.
pop it up for half a second.
No, I would have to fix it first, and
okay.
if I do that, it's going to take too much. So let's just do this. And thank the folks on the show today, Bob Benenson and Elsa M. Jacobson, meteorologist Rick DiMaio, Kathleen running up. You know, she's been warming.
She's been Instagram this morning too.
She's been doing Instagram, and she warmed my coffee a couple of times. She's the best. Lagata is shunning me again. I don't know about Basil the dog.
He's on the front porch.
Okay. Well then, until next time, go green. And we got 2 great shows come up in the next 2 weeks. Go green or go
home.
Stadler?
What?
Is that it?
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.